Hi, I'm Andrew, and this video is mainly for two particular groups of people. Anybody learning English that wants to sound like a native English speaker, and also for any of you doing your IELTS exam, because if you want to get a score of 7 and above, then you really do need to aim to sound as much like a native speaker as possible. So, how do you do that? To sound like a native speaker, you must use collocations, and in this video you're going to learn 5 new collocations. Less common words, including some topic-specific vocabulary. Again, in this video, 5 less common words you will learn. Phrasal verbs, you're going to learn 4 of these, and finally the occasional idiom. In this video you're going to learn 3 new idioms. So what's a collocation? It's simply when 2 words regularly appear next to each other in a language, much more often than you'd expect just by chance. In this video, we're going to look at useful collocations, including a fresh start and a golden opportunity. The collocations are going to appear in blue. The less common words will appear in purple. About less common words, here's a really good tip for you. Don't make the mistake of behaving like a walking dictionary, okay? Don't act like you've swallowed a dictionary. Don't try and use very rare words, because native speakers don't do that in spoken English, and you will just sound very strange. You can use the Collins online dictionary to see if words are just less common or really rare, obscure and strange, almost never used. Use the Collins online dictionary. That's a top tip from me. Phrasal verbs. A phrasal verb is an ordinary verb plus a preposition. The preposition changes the meaning of the verb. A good example is to give up, meaning to quit or stop doing something. So instead of saying I quit smoking when I was 20, you could say I gave up smoking when I was 20. Idioms. They are simply very common expressions in a language, but the meaning is normally very difficult for non-native speakers to understand because they don't seem to make sense. Here's a perfect example. He's been working at that company for donkey's years. This means he's been working there for a very long time. So, how are you going to put together and use these collocations, less common words, phrasal verbs and idioms to sound like a native speaker? Here's an example of a question from the IELTS exam and an example answer you could give using collocations, less common words, phrasal verbs and idioms. The question, have you ever studied abroad? The answer, yes, I studied Spanish at university, and in my second year I had a golden opportunity to go and learn about another culture in Ecuador. I'd been stuck in a rut during the first year of my course. I didn't really enjoy it, and so when I got this chance I jumped at it, and it gave me a fresh start, really. So, meanings. A golden opportunity is a really good chance to go and do something. A fresh start means a chance to start again with something. If you feel stuck in a rut, you feel as though you're not making much progress, maybe you're a bit bored, a bit depressed. If you jump at something, then it's an offer that you're very glad to receive, and you happily and quickly decide to do this thing that you jump at. So, here's another example from part 2 of the IELTS exam. This is a common cue card. Describe an interesting lecture that you once attended. You should say where it was, when it was, what it was about, why it was so interesting. A common card. Here's an answer using collocations, idioms, phrasal verbs, and less common words. I'm going to recount a story about a lecture that I attended as part of my economics course. The first thing that I'm going to comment on is the lecturer himself. My word, he was dishy. He looked like a movie star or something. He was the last person that I expected to see giving a lecture on free trade. As I said, this was part of my economics course, so it must have been back in about 1996, I think. It was in the main conference hall at the LSE. The topic, as I already mentioned, was about free trade, and what was so very interesting about this particular lecture was that whilst 99% of experts these days bang on about how great free trade is, this lecturer, whose name I seem to have forgotten, was staunchly opposed to unfettered free trade because he said that the amount of jobs that are lost as a result is too high a price to pay for any benefits gained. Meanings: to recount, an advanced word meaning to tell a story or talk about an experience. Dishy. This means sexually attractive, but we use it about a man, so this is really only a word that should be used by candidates that find men attractive. Free trade. This means trade without export and import taxes. Unfettered means without any restrictions or limits or laws. Staunchly opposed to. If you're staunchly opposed to something, then you're strongly against an idea or a policy. Incidentally, that's also a very good collocation to use in your IELTS writing essays. The phrasal verb, to bang on about something. If you bang on about something, then you talk about it in a long and boring way. The last person I expected to see. This means that it was a big surprise that he or she was there at whatever event you're talking about. If something is too high a price to pay, then the bad effects of something are more significant than anything good that comes from it. Final example, a part 3 question from the IELTS exam. How can teachers make lessons interesting for children? Answer. Well, a huge key has to be to make everything interactive. You've got to get the kids up and about. Kids have a very low boredom threshold, and if you're not very careful, they'll just nod off completely during your lesson. So I think it's about getting them up and moving around. So it's vital to ensure that you have things like games and songs planned for them so that they don't just tune you out entirely. Meanings: a huge key, a collocation, meaning that something is very important. Boredom threshold, the point beyond which people become bored. Interactive, this means that everybody is involved in something and communicating with each other. If you nod off, you go to sleep. If you tune somebody out, you stop listening to them or paying attention to them. So hopefully you're still listening to me. If you are, if you found this useful, there's a little red subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner of this video, and you can subscribe there. Also, you will find links within this video to other useful videos from myself and also some from other teachers that can help you with the IELTS exam. So that's it from me.